You are listening to Chasing PRs, and if you're wondering how you can get through the winter and run consistently, stay tuned.
Welcome to Chasing PRs, a podcast for everyday runners who want to make the most out of their training and achieve new personal records while managing work, family, and life outside running. Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Chasing PRs. I am Diego.
And I'm Rochelle.
And we wanted to say thank you to all the listeners so far. It's a new podcast. You're super anxious, right? When you start something new, if people are going to like it or no. And so far, the response has been great, don't you think?
Yeah, we're having fun recording them, but it's nice to get some good feedback. People are enjoying it by the sounds of it.
Yeah. So thank you for that. The other part is we just started our Instagram account. You can follow us at Chasing PRs Podcast.
Yeah.
And there's this thing called Podsies, you said?
Yeah.
Podsies. So the concept of the Podsy is that if you're listening to this right now, please screenshot the art of the podcast, what you see in Spotify or in Apple Music, wherever you listen to the podcast. Upload it to Instagram if you use Instagram and tag us, right? So that way we can know who is listening, which episode they're listening, and we can retweet that, or not retweet it on Twitter, repost that,
yeah,
or the story. So I think it's a fun experiment, and if you're up to it, we'll greatly appreciate it.
And you can include any tips if you want to have any episodes discuss like any topics.
Yeah, or a runner of the week. Last week we have our first outside recommendation of runner of the week.
Yeah.
So that's like the housekeeping of the podcast and the newsletter. People are loving the newsletter. People are starting to write us like, oh, thank you. This is amazing. And it's also free. If you go to chasingprs.run, click on newsletter, and you can give us your email. And you have access to all the previous newsletters. So that's really cool. And if you want to improve your running in 5 minutes, it's like the idea of the newsletter. Just subscribe. It's free. We won't spam you. It's just one email a week.
Yeah.
So together we're talking about winter running. If you live in a cold weather like us, it's very important to run during winter, and we have some interesting tips to tell today. I hate running during winter. Do you like it?
I don't love it. I'd rather run in the fall or in the spring, but I can do it. I feel like if you have the right gear, you can make it work.
Yeah, there's one saying, there's no cold weather, there's just wrong clothes or gear.
Yeah.
I hate it. It's a mental struggle every time I need to go, especially my long runs. I already said that I hate long runs. So
yeah, especially if it's windy. If it's a windy, cold long run.
Yeah, if it's like a day that it's sunny, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But if it's windy, even if it's like 0 degrees or -5, just the wind makes everything worse. I pulled up some conversion to Fahrenheit because not all people do Celsius. So 0 degrees, I know that it's 32 Fahrenheit. So, and -5 is, I don't know, it goes on to -3. But it's like 24 Fahrenheit. So that's really cold. Well, I hate it. But I think it's super beneficial to run in winter. What are the main things do you think helps running during winter? To your running?
Yeah, like the benefits of running in the winter.
Yeah.
I think it links into what we talked about last week on the podcast. So you get that base of fitness. So when the snow melts and races are approaching and you start to do your build, you're already 40K a week, 50K a week.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take the winter off, and a lot of people do, and if you hate running in the winter, that's all. Like if you just can't make yourself get out there like you do, then that's fine. But then you have to really start from scratch every spring, which sucks.
Yeah. But for people that are running a spring marathon or race, we talk a lot about marathons, but there are a lot of races, right?
Yes, true. Yeah.
I love 5Ks. That's my favorite race, to be honest. But we're stuck to running during winter. So I try to figure out more benefits just to get me out of the door. And one of that really helped me is it builds mental strength.
True. Because any race you do, whether it's 5K or the marathon, I would argue sometimes 5K is more painful than a marathon because
A fast 5K
it's
for sure.
so it hurts. Like 2K in and you're on fire.
Yeah.
A marathon feels, if you're doing a controlled pace, feels pretty good for the first half. So if you get used to like running when it sucks and it hurts and your face is cold, wind is beating into your eyes, you just push through it. And then on race day when things suck, it kind of builds that mental fortitude.
Yeah, that's part of what every time that I'm doing a long run, I've been out at minus 30 degrees at hour and a half. It's like, okay, build your mental strength. You can do it. Remember this when you are suffering at the end of any race.
I'll often try even more in the winter to run somewhere new. Because if I'm just doing the same streets over and over again, like I'll go down in Ottawa, we have the Rideau Canal and they clear the path along the canal. So I'll go down there or go over somewhere in Quebec, try to just mix it up a little bit and try, if there's a big headwind, I'll run with the wind if I can for the big long runs and then ask my husband to come get me.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about general tips, but one that I read a few years ago is that if you can't do that, like running with the wind and then someone picked you up, it's like try to run the first half against the wind and the second half with the wind. It will help you a lot because running when you're cold and tired with a headwind, it's way worse than running with the wind on your back. Yeah,
it's like if you're doing 30K, say if you're marathon training or less, you do the first half and then you turn around. It's like your reward for running that far. Now you get a nice push instead of a battle.
Yeah. And it doesn't like steal your heat that much, that wind.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite. You like to try new routes. I like to stick to my regular routes. I know the routes that are plowed or in my close to my house.
Yeah, that's important.
So, and I know what to expect, where the headwind is going to be and stuff like that. So I have like a 2.5 kilometer loop around my house. I know it's small and doing a long run there is like 20 laps or 10, 12 laps.
And you'll do your long run on that 2.5K loop?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I know when the headwind is going to be. And I don't know if it happens to you, but I pee a lot during winter. I don't know if the wind or it's the cold but I pee way more than in summer or every other.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It's way less convenient because you have so many more
layers and gloves and mittens and stuff like that.
And then if you're cold, you can like run in and just warm up a little bit and go again if your hands are freezing.
Yeah, exactly. I've done it. Like, no, it's too cold right now. I'm going to layer up or get another piece of equipment to keep myself warm. Are there any other benefits you can think about running in the winter?
Mainly, I think the biggest one is, mental, like you said, but then just keeping that cardiovascular fitness and specific to running. Because again, if you hate winter, so you spend the winter months like on a stationary bike or on an elliptical, or you sign up for a class, that's great, but your tendons and joints and bones aren't being loaded with the impact of running.
Yeah.
So no matter how fit you are come March, April, whenever the snow melts, you have to start from scratch. Like you can't be super fit in another sport that's low impact.
Yeah.
And then expect to just dive into 30, 40K weeks. You have to earn that mileage back. So it just puts you back so much at every spring. I really think runners who don't run throughout the winter have to start almost from scratch every spring.
I was talking to someone yesterday that listened to the episode of season, and it was like, I'm still scared of losing my fitness. And I told her, if you just keep running, obviously not your big mileage, and you can keep big fitness forever, as we talk. But if you just keep the best mileage, you are not losing that much, and it's okay to lose because you will recover it when your mileage starts to pick up again. I'm not obsessed, but I always look at runners around me. They're running for just because I'm curious. It's not because they're wrong or bad or something like that. But I feel like in winter, everyone improves their running form and efficiency.
That's true.
You need to be like super easy on your toes, on your feet, because it's slippery. There's like hazards or big lumps or snow. So I've noticed that their running form and efficiency just improves during running winter. And I hope it will be awesome if someone did a study about that. If it carry on to your regular running.
Yeah, because if you're running, with a higher cadence, so your step rate's higher, so you don't slip, and you're overstriding less.
Yeah.
And you do that December, January, February, March. That 4 months is enough time for that to get ingrained, and really, once the snow melts, you're probably running similarly.
Yeah, that it will be. I think it helps.
Yeah.
I just don't know for certain if it helps.
There's no proof.
Yeah, exactly. There's no proof to that.
Yeah, not yet.
But yeah, I think there's another benefit. Just improve your running form and your cadence. I think that the biggest we can do an episode about running form, but I think the biggest bad running form is overstriding, right?
Yeah.
So just running in the winter and slippery roads helps to not overstride.
Yeah. If people are overstriding, the number one thing to get them to do is up their cadence. You don't have time to overstride if your cadence, your step rate's higher.
And you're in your tippy toes trying not to sleep, so that really helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and that's why it's important. A lot of benefits of running, but the big issue question with running in the winter is shoes, right? Everyone is obsessed with shoes. Even if it's not winter, we are obsessed with shoes.
Yeah, we become more obsessed.
Exactly.
In winter.
There's more to think about. I've seen everything. People, I just running my regular shoes. I don't do anything different. What do you do during winter with your running shoes?
I do run a lot in my regular shoes.
Really?
Like right now I run in Topos.
Okay.
And unless it's icy and there's snow on the paths, I tend to run in those. But I do have a pair of the New Balance Fresh Foam Gore-Tex.
Okay.
And they're trail runners. So if it's icy and slippery, I'll get those out. And the benefit is they're waterproof.
Yeah.
Which I find I don't really need this time of year. I love them in like March and April when the snow is melting and there's puddles everywhere, but it's still cold.
Yeah.
And I can just run right through it all and my feet don't get wet. But yeah, I would say probably 70% of the winter I just run in regular shoes.
Okay.
And 30% of the time I'm getting these trail runners out.
My feet get just too cold.
Okay.
All my running shoes are like fly knit and stuff like that, so the cold just goes right through them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also have a pair of Hoka Speedgoat Gore-Tex, and I think Gore-Tex is the key word here. It's amazing to have some running shoes with Gore-Tex, both because of your feet doesn't get wet like you just said in March, April, and in my case, my feet stay warm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with the Gore-Tex shoes, if there's a big headwind and it's really cold and there's just high wind chill, that's sometimes when I'll feel my toes get a little bit cold. But you probably wear smart wool socks when you're running. I find usually I can get away with my regular runners in those, but the Topos I have, they're not really, really, I know what shoes you're talking about when you can almost like see your foot.
Yeah,
because of the
your
mesh.
socks, yeah.
They're a little bit thicker, the ones that I have, so maybe that's why they don't get too cold.
I do both.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I'm from Mexico, so I'm not used to running in minus 20 or minus 30 degrees. It's just this is going to be my fourth winter only running in this freaking cold, but I'm getting used to it, and just the right clothes help.
And I'm opposite.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
from Labrador.
But it's colder than
here.
here.
I started running probably seriously in 2009 when I moved back home after physio school.
Okay.
And trained for my first marathon there. So we were like, I think the coldest I've run in is minus 45 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it was really cold.
Okay.
It doesn't often get that cold in Ottawa.
No, I know my chart only goes until minus 30. That is the coldest I've ever run.
Yeah.
It's minus 22 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So that's really cold.
Yeah.
I remember
cold, but
earning my Canadian badge that year. That minus 30, I did it. I could run a full long run at minus 30.
Yeah. Now you're a Canadian runner.
Yeah, exactly. And it just everything starts to add up, because at the beginning I thought like, okay, I need tights, right? Okay, tights. Then I need a jacket, and I need a base layer, and I need socks. And I thought I was good enough. My feet doesn't get cold, my legs doesn't get that cold. But when I add better shoes like with protection, okay, this feels better. And then I added a better pair of tights with some like wind protection in the thighs, and it improved. And yeah, you start to pick up the little recommendations of everyone around here, and I think that everything helps.
it's funny running. Everybody always says running is such a cheap sport.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, it's not in the winter.
Try to buy
In
a
the winter,
good
it's
winter
expensive.
jacket.
Yes.
A good Gore-Tex one goes around 300.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah.
Do you ever wear the ice grippers like Yak Tracks or get the nails, like this, not nails, the screws
Yeah.
in the bottom of your shoes?
No, I bought a pair because I was running in winter.
Yeah.
But I've never used them.
Yeah.
I try to stick to plowed streets, so no, I've never used them. Have you used them?
More in Labrador. In Labrador, once winter is like truly set in, which is usually by now, we don't really see a lot of pavement on the roads until the melt in April. So we don't plow right down to the pavement. There's like this thin kind of layer of ice and hard packed snow. So in that case, I found like I had Yak Tracks, but just the ice grippers that you can get.
Yeah.
Those were really helpful then. And then one year I got these running screws, kind of screwed into the bottom of the sole of my shoe, but you have to kind of sacrifice a pair of shoes to do that. But they were winter runners, so it was fine. And I found them really good in Labrador. But here I find it's not very often that the whole path that you're running on is
going to be icy,
snow covered and icy. Like there's a bit of pavement and ice. And when you hit the pavement with those on, it's really annoying. Like it's kind of clackety, and
it doesn't affect like your stride or your running form having them. You don't feel them as much.
No, I a good pair I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, the only trouble I had was I had coiled ice grippers.
Okay.
And if it had snowed and it was like really good snowman making snow, then I found they would pack up under my shoe.
Just like mud.
And then it was like this big rocker, like I was 2 inches taller because I had all this snow.
Okay.
So I'd have to stop and like kick it out. So then I found the screws were better.
Okay.
But I find in Ottawa, like I have a pair and I hardly ever get them out.
Yeah, I've never used them.
Yeah.
So the main benefit is Gore-Tex, I think.
Yeah.
And traction.
Yeah.
That's the only good locks. Looks or locks? The thing that goes on the bottom of the shoe. I think it's locks.
Good question. I don't
looks. I don't know. But like if you start to researching like trail shoes, you can even see how deep they are, like 3 millimeter locks or or 4 millimeter, and those really help when it's snowy.
You can get like these winter runners that go up over your ankle as well. And have you ever seen
Gator?
Those? So it's part of the shoe, so it'll come right up over your ankle. I had a pair from New Balance. I don't think they make them anymore, but they zipped up and they cinched right in. But the only thing is like they were only good in winter.
Okay.
So I prefer to get a trail runner because then I can use them like my trail runners that I have right now. When my husband and I hiked in Iceland this summer, we wore them. I had them there because they were waterproof and it was really muddy and wet what we were doing. But those weren't as good because they weren't as versatile. But then you could just throw a pair of gaiters with them. So, and that really is only needed if you're running
through snow
and it's not plowed.
Yeah.
Which I don't enjoy doing.
No.
Yeah.
But it helps to lift up your knees and improve your running performance.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Maybe I should do more of that.
And I asked for those for Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah. There are these Nike Pegasus Trail Gore-Tex 4. That's a mouthful, I know. But that's their name.
Okay.
Nike Pegasus Gore-Tex 4.
And they come up the ankles?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I hope Santa is good with me. And
hopefully Santa's listening.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Santa. It's already in my card for you. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those. And it will be awesome if some brand make trail running shoes with a carbon plate.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's some winter races in Ottawa, like the Richmond Road Race and they used to call it Winterman, but I think it's Embrace Winter, January, February.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see if anyone tries to wear regular super shoes at those. Because
if it's not slippery, I ran in Boston on New Year's 2020, I think, 5K race, and I ran in super shoes.
And they were good? How cold was it?
It was, I don't know, -5.
Okay.
23 Fahrenheit.
Because sometimes a shoe, if it gets really cold, I don't know if you've ever had shoes like this, but they get really stiff. Like in really, really cold weather, they just turn into like rocks, like these bricks that you're running on.
So
the super shoes didn't do that?
No, that I can remember.
Okay.
But it was really well plowed. My feet were super cold, but it was just a 5K. So
it was worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Totally worth it. So yeah, some trail runners with carbon plated shoes, I will be the first one to buy it.
Yeah.
Because I've been running with carbon plated shoes the whole year. So now changing to the winter trail shoes, it's gonna be interesting.
That's a really good point to bring up, just the physio brain. A lot of runners completely switch shoes when winter comes, and then the snow melts and they completely switch back in the spring. And you have to be careful because if the shoe is not similar, so think like if your regular runners have a 4 millimeter heel toe drop, and then your winter runners have 10. When you go from the 4 millimeter heel toe drop to the 10, you're going to put a lot more pressure on the balls of your foot and your toes. And then when you switch back to the lower drop, lower heel shoe, you're going to put a lot more pressure on your Achilles, your plantar fascia, and your calf. So you actually have to be careful this time of year. Like I've had people come in this time of year and then in the spring and they're injured. And I'll say like, have you changed your shoes lately? And sometimes they're like, well, the snow melted, so I have my regular shoes on again. And I'll get them to bring them in or tell me what they are and we'll look up the specs. And if they're quite different, that can give you problems. You kind of want to be a little bit similar in your spring to summer to fall to winter shoes.
That's what I need. Carbon plated trail shoes and winter shoes.
There you go.
But I'm going to be careful about that for sure. But something very interesting is that you run through snow. You don't have great traction. Not the best shoes to run, in my opinion. The trail shoes or Gore-Tex are heavy. I have to say, I hate the look of my Hokas. They look super awful, but they are super efficient. But then I switch in spring to super shoes again. Oh, I feel like I could fly. My best long runs ever.
And then you get the traction again, so you feel faster anyway.
Exactly. And the weather, you don't have 10 layers of clothes on top of you. So let's talk about layers. I think it's the next big topic, talking about layers. And it's a secret to running during winter. Right? Let's put two scenarios, like 0 degrees, that it's 32 Fahrenheit, up to -10. I think you can wear pretty much the same clothes. And then after -10, that it's 14 degrees Fahrenheit, I changed my approach. How do you dress for the first scenario, like 0 to -10?
I think the key is, like in general for both scenarios, when you step out your front door or get out of your car, you should feel a little bit cold. Like if you get out and you're really comfortable, you're in trouble.
Overdressed,
You're overdressed, you're going to get warm. So I think like you step out and it's like, okay, I want to start running. I need to warm up. So for me in the first scenario, I usually just wear a pair of tights, smart wool socks, my regular runners, unless it's slippery. I'll wear a long sleeve, but more of that like dry fit material, not necessarily like a merino wool type shirt. And then I usually wear my Run Ottawa jacket because it's windproof, but it's not waterproof. It's breathable. And then usually a thin buff on around my neck and then another one over my ears and a pair of gloves. So that's what I'll wear, like the 0 to -10 range. But then if it's colder than that, if it's really cold, I'll put 2 pairs of pants on. So I'll put tights plus my ski pants because otherwise my legs are freezing. But if it's not, and that's like -30 or colder. But if it's not that cold, I've got a couple pairs of tights from Lululemon that are fleece on the inside. They work really, really well, I find. And then I'll either put 2 long sleeves on or I'll put, like I've got some smart wool long sleeves or fleeces that I'll put on underneath. If it's really cold, I'll put like this fleecy one I have, but usually 2 long sleeves. And most important for me, the gloves become mitts. Because I need mittens when it's colder than -10. My fingers just get way too cold in gloves. And then like a hat that will come down and actually cover my ears because the buff, my whole head is like the top of my head is exposed. So I'm losing so much heat there. So if it's really cold, I need a hat, but I need a good hat that actually covers my ears. And then sometimes I'll put a buff on and pull it up over the back of my head so that my neck and my chin, I look crazy, especially with glasses. I look like something from Star Wars, but then like there's no skin exposed.
I think I do pretty similarly, but I have a hard time finding the right jacket. I have like 5 winter running jackets, and I just switch them around based on the weather. But if it's -0 to -10, it's like some Brooks tights I bought like 10 years ago that are still good to go. But they don't have like any technology. They're long shorts, I call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, merino wool socks, depending on how cold it is. If it's windy, I wear my Vortex shoes. If not, I wear some regular shoes. And then I love the cold gear of Under Armour. That's what I always do as a base layer on the top. It's I love it.
Yeah.
I don't get cold. It's super breathable, and I just can put on another jacket on top of that, and I'm good to go. Yeah, always above in my neck, above in my head. And having two boots is really convenient because you can switch them around, and if you get hot, you can take one out, and if you get cold, sometimes I cover twice my ears with the top one and then on the one on my neck.
It's so important because frostbite is a real risk, especially if it's colder than -10.
Yeah, and
so you need to
when it's
cover your
windy,
skin.
I don't know, like it blocks the wind, so everything feels easier.
Yeah.
If you can hear the wind all the time, I don't know if I get stressed or I believe that the weather is worse than it actually is.
Yeah.
But yeah, just covering my ears helps a lot. And I learned that, not covering my ears, but how covering your face changed the perceived effort or the perceived weather. For example, when I was doing triathlons, if you see a triathlete, almost all of them have a visor and sunglasses. And there's a story I can't remember right now, but I read it like 5-6 years ago. Then if you wear a visor or a hat and sunglasses, your perceived sensation of heat, in that case, because triathlons are usually very hot, decreases. So, okay, how can I translate that to winter running? And I found like wearing sunglasses, if it's worth it. I almost always wear sunglasses, because if it's sunny or if it's windy, it also helps a lot. So covering
especially if it's snowing and windy, because the snowflakes like can pelt you in the eyeballs. Like it actually hurts.
You can see us.
Yeah.
So yeah, covering my eyes and my ears really help. And then when it starts to get colder, I just changed tights. I bought some that are lined, placed in the inside, and they have like wind protection, and not everywhere, just in very specific places, and that really helps. And I like Under Armour cold gear base layer, a jacket, and then a windproof jacket.
So my husband has winter running underwear.
Okay.
Which we discovered like a couple of years ago, and he can wear those under his tights.
Okay.
So they're like thick, kind of fleece lined, like boxer, kind of like spandex shorts.
Okay.
And then he puts his tights on over those.
Whoa,
and finds that really helps too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't overheat.
No.
Okay.
No.
If it's -30, it's hard to.
Yeah, he
it's
gets
hard
them
to
out.
overheat.
They're saved for the really like true Canadian winter days. With the winter gear, you'll have it for so long. Like the Lululemon tights I have, I think were $120.
Yeah.
Which is really expensive, but I'll probably have them for over 10 years. They're good quality. I only wear them in the winter.
Yeah,
so
they will last you 10 years.
4 months of the year.
It's like my Brooks tights. I had them like 10 years easily, and they're still good to go.
Yeah. I think if you invest in the right gear, it's expensive up front, but you'll enjoy running in the winter more.
Yeah.
And the next year you won't have to.
Spend.
It'll be cheaper. It's all in a drawer. You have it.
I think that was my biggest mistake when I started. That's why I have 5 jackets, because I didn't invest in a good one from the start. It's like, oh, no, let's buy this $50 one, and then the 81. And at the end of it, I'm going to need to buy that $300 jacket.
I wear the same jacket every time.
Okay.
It's just the layers underneath change.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what works for me.
Yeah. But that's what the podcast is about, to give you options, and you need to try new things, and hopefully you don't have to spend in 5 jackets.
Yeah. Yeah.
A game changer for me running during winter, you mentioned one, mittens.
Yeah.
I used to have like 5 or 6 pair of gloves, and I just layer gloves also, like merino. I bought like merino liners, and then Gore-Tex, the North Face on top, but my hands were always freezing, always. Yeah. And someone told me, you need to wear mittens. It was a game changer to wear mittens.
Yeah.
And when it's colder, like -20, I put some hand warmers into them.
Yeah, I've never done that, but that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people that at -5, they already have hand warmers.
Wow.
It feels awesome. You're freezing everywhere, and you can just squeeze the hand warmers inside the mitten.
And they're small, so if you're running with a vest or something, you can just kind of tuck your vest or your pocket and get them out when the hands get cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, hand warmers, I bought them at Costco. You can buy a full box. Really cheap in it's like you're gonna spend like $1 or $2 per run on hand warmers.
It's worth it.
But yeah, totally.
With the mittens, another good benefit is, so I had a conversation with someone last week talking about how it's getting cold and how do you keep everything from freezing. So I've had shot blocks freeze in like -30. So these are the blocks that you have to like chew.
Okay.
And so I'm like 20K into a 32K run, and I have to like break my jaw trying to chew these
Because they're
shot
frozen.
blocks. And someone said, why don't you just put them in your mitten before you eat them? And I was like, oh, that's genius. So that's what I've done. I never thought of it. So now, like, because my hands are nice and warm in my mittens.
Yeah.
So if I need to take a shot block at like 20K, at 18, I'll get them out of their package and put them in my hand. And by the time 20K hits, they've warmed up and I can actually chew them. Same with gels.
Okay. Yeah.
So you could just take like the goo or whatever you're eating and put it in your mitten.
Have you gotten
and warm
your
it.
gels frozen?
My gels have gotten really, like, not frozen, but to the point, like, I can't really squeeze them out.
Okay.
They're not frozen, but they're really, really thick, and it's like you're chewing them.
Yeah.
So if you just put them in your mitten, they're warm
Perfect.
and you can ingest them
That's
easily.
a great solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I've never experienced a frozen.
No, maybe this year.
Oh no, hopefully not.
But you do the loops close to your house too, so
Yeah.
that's another tip is if you don't want to worry about frozen stuff,
Yeah.
keep it close to home, and then you just, every time
Swing
you
by
need your
and-
fuel,
exactly.
you go in and get it. But I've had my water in my Camelback freeze. On my first ever marathon training in Labrador, it was -38, -40. It was a really cold winter, and the tube froze.
Oh,
So I had no
it didn't break.
water. Nope.
Oh,
I
that's
just
cool.
went thirsty for like 20K.
I always run with a flask. The water ins or the Gatorade, and if it's long runs, I do Gatorade. It's a little harder for it to freeze.
Mhm.
But the Gatorade never frozen, but all the leaf where you saw it froze because it's wet. So I had to stop, unscrew the flask, drink a little Gatorade, close it back again, and then go. And I remember the first time it happened to me, it was like, what's wrong with this? I never imagined that my water or the Gatorade was going to be
Would
frozen.
freeze.
Yeah. So
One tip a runner gave me a couple of years ago that I've been using is probably the best tip I've ever been given for winter running.
okay.
If you're using water, fill up your vest or your bottles with hot water,
Okay.
like really, really hot water. Or if it was Gatorade, you could even like warm it up in a pot on the stove, and then you put it into your bladder or whatever you're using. And by the time you need it, it's like kind of lukewarm, which is kind of gross.
At the
But then
beginning.
as you keep running, it's a
Yeah.
bit colder and a bit colder. And I've done some pretty cold 30K runs,
Okay.
30K in -30.
Yep.
And it didn't freeze.
Oh.
It was freezing, but it was okay.
Yeah, I rather have a little warm Gatorade than frozen Gatorade at
Yeah,
the end.
at least you could drink it.
Yeah, exactly. And not because with the mittens I couldn't open the flask, so I need to take the mittens, open
Yeah.
the flask, drink water, close
And then
it
your
again.
hands freeze.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant.
I'm sure there's
experience.
people listening to this being like, why don't you just run on the treadmill?
Because I'm too cheap to invest in a treadmill.
I have one. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
You
And
can
then-
use mine if you want.
Yeah, thank you. No, but the second one is like I really like the mental strength
Yeah.
of running outside. So it will be super easy. And to be honest, I think I will use a treadmill like 2 or 3 times a year when I have to do a long run or a speed session or something like that, and it just snowed or it's a snowstorm. It will be convenient, but just investing for 3 times a year, I will
Yeah.
ride to your house and
Yeah.
go to the
Get
gym,
on the treadmill.
pay
Yeah.
a drop in a gym, and
Yeah.
that's great now. Okay, let's talk about really quick about treadmill. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
there's really much to talk about. But does it hurt you running in the long run? Not during the long run. I'm saying over the long run.
In the long run, yeah.
Exactly.
I think you just have to be careful if you're doing all your runs on the treadmill.
Okay.
It's kind of like the shoe thing. Like if December to March, you only run on the treadmill, and then April comes and you run outside. It's just a different surface. There's a little bit of bounce in the treadmill. There's
Yeah,
a bit
it
of
feels-
give. It's not as hard as the sidewalks. It's not rolling, and there's no wind and there's no curbs. So it's very repetitive. So I think you just have to be careful switching back to the road. So maybe if you manage to run like 40K a week on the treadmill over the winter, and then you decide to switch outside, maybe do like 2 runs a week outside to begin with, and then the next week 3, and then the next week 4,
Okay.
like kind of make that transition more slowly. And I think just be aware that most running injuries are repetitive overuse injuries. And the more repetitive your running is, the more likely you are to get injured.
And a treadmill, it's super repetitive.
Yeah, every step is the same. This is why trail runners, unless they fall and twist their ankle or hurt their knee, trail runners actually get injured less than road runners because every step is different.
Okay.
And they're having to jump over things and their ankles are, rocking side to side. Every step is different. But the treadmill is like, you could not get more repetitive.
Exactly.
So just be careful.
Okay. But it doesn't affect like your running form or your...
So there is research to show that most people increase their cadence a bit on the treadmill, which is good.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a positive thing, especially if you're really
it's
tall.
It's harder to overstride in a treadmill.
It is.
You don't have space.
Yeah, especially tall people because they're like, where are my legs going to go if I overstride? So no, and I think for the most part, that's just people tend to increase their cadence, which is usually not a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another interesting piece of gear that you need in winter?
So the Nox gear vest or the Get Visi vest, the light up vests. I had the Nox gear vest, and then when I had the old version where you needed batteries.
Okay.
You couldn't charge it with USB. So when I decided to get a new one, I went with a Canadian company, Get Visi. But those are, because it's 5 o'clock and it's dark now.
Yeah.
So I'm often running in the evening in the dark. And I just find it makes a huge difference. Like cars see you from so far away. So these vests make you very visible from the front and the back. They light up, they can flash. The Get Visi one even has like a little flashlight in the center of the chest. So if you're running somewhere it's really dark, you can aim it at the ground and like see where you're going. So I think every runner who's running at night should have one.
Yeah. And
there's the reflective vests and headlamps, but I've had it all. And I think the light up vests are the best.
Okay. No, I just bought something on Amazon. It's like a reflective vest, and it has like these little strips that light in the front and in the back.
Yeah.
And they were like $15.
Yeah.
And so far, people have seen me.
And you don't have to remember to charge them.
Well, no, it's USB.
Oh, it is light up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it lights up.
Not just the yellow strips that are reflective.
It's like, it has the yellow strips, but it also has like in the front and in the back, like LED lights. Yeah, with USB, you charge them. And I charge them once in 2 years. So that's great.
I like when we're running with K to J on Thursday nights because everybody has, almost everyone
has
a light up vest.
Yeah.
We look like a Christmas parade running around the streets of Ottawa.
It's super funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But light vest, if you're running in the dark, I don't think it's very important. It's essential.
Yeah, definitely.
To be seen. And I saw a few years ago, like a meme maybe, how far cars can see you based on what you're wearing. I don't know, but a lot of running clothes are super dark.
Yeah.
So people can't see you for more than 10 meters.
And I find vehicles are not often looking for pedestrians. They're looking for other cars.
Exactly.
So if you're obnoxiously flashing as you enter an intersection,
there's no way they can see you.
They're going to maybe think you're a car at first and put the brakes on. But it's important.
Yeah, super important.
Yeah.
And if your vest doesn't have a light like yours, like a headlamp.
Mm-hmm.
It's super important. And more, in my case, just to see where I'm going.
Yeah, the vests don't help see the sidewalk so well. But the Get Visi one does because it's got that flashlight. But I don't think Nox gear, the old Nox gear one didn't anyway. But that's important. Yeah.
I let's talk about pacing during winter. And it's hard because I don't want to run slower. Mm-hmm. I think if you listen to the podcast, I hate to run slow. But sometimes it's necessarily, or no. You're going to say yes. I'm sure that you're going to say yes, that you need to slow down. Winter. But I don't slow down. I just work harder.
Yeah.
Because I hate running slow. Why do you think it's very important to slow down during winter?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. So I think if you look at a lot of the research, like the book 80-20 Running by Matt Fitzgerald, 80% of our weekly mileage should be easy. And this is what the elites do at the highest levels. This is what they're doing. So because any more than 20% at high intensity, we tend to get injured.
Yeah.
And then you're not on your starting line for your race because you're hurt. So 80% of your run should be easy. So say you have someone whose easy run pace is 6 minutes per kilometer during the summer, or maybe not summer because then it's 30 degrees. Let's say fall when it's like nice temperatures and running feels good and the pace is 6 minutes. Then if winter comes and you're not going by feel, you're going by pace, but it's slippery and it's freezing and you've got 10 pounds of clothes and gear on and water vests and all this stuff, 6 minutes probably not going to feel easy, like a 4 out of 10 rate of perceived exertion.
Yeah.
So now if you are obsessed with sticking to 6, but maybe that feels more like a 6 out of 10, now your runs aren't easy.
Yeah. I totally agree with it.
Yeah. But it's hard.
Yeah.
And I think people feel like, oh, I'm losing fitness. And especially if it's the off season, you're running less. So you look at your watch and you think, oh, 6:20, 6:30, like this sucks. But 1, you got to go by feel. And 2, we've already discussed you are going to lose a little bit of fitness in the off season.
Yeah.
But then when you start training again, I do find you just let yourself run slower, go by feel, ignore the watch. Like my easy pace tends to be 5:30 to 5:45 minutes per kilometer.
Yep.
And in the winter, it might be 6:30.
Okay.
Like sometimes even slower depending on the footing. So I think it's just important to let that happen. But then when the spring comes and the snow melts,
you fly.
oh, you feel so good. It's like in the summer when you're training in 30 degrees and then it cools off and you get that first 10-degree run and you just feel like you're the fastest runner in the world. It feels amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just last Thursday, we were talking with my friends, and it was, I think we ran like at 4:50 pace. And I looked at my watch, that felt way harder than 4:50, just because I wasn't it was like my first run with tights and winter jacket and mittens and everything. So it starts to feel way harder. So what I do, I slow down because I don't have an option.
Yeah.
You have like 10 pounds of clothes and it's icy and snowy and slippery. But I try to go as fast as I can, try to keep my pace as long as it doesn't affect my next training. So if I'm feeling super tired or super sore because I'm really stressed or focused on keeping my pace, that's the time when now it's time to start to slowing down because it's starting to affect my next training session, and that will compound, and my training block, it's gonna be shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, if you think like we talked about easy pace, but speed, like we do track outside in winter. And if the footing isn't good, if you like often coaches will give similar workouts and then you can look back, this is what I did in the summer. This is what I did in the fall. Don't compare to that because if it's slippery, you're just not going to get the same top speed.
That's true. If I'm saying I'm running the same pace, it's in my easy runs or my long runs. In the track, it's pretty much impossible to run at the same speed.
And even if you're slower, it doesn't mean your race is going to be slower because the effort is the same.
Yep.
So really, like your heart rate is similar, like the amount your body's working is similar. It's just maybe you're doing a 4:10 pace instead of a 3:50, which you did in September.
Yeah.
But September, there was no snow on the ground and your body wasn't working hard to keep warm. And
I have a good example of that. My spring marathon, which I trained through the winter, I ran 2:54. And my fall marathon that I trained through summer way faster, it was 3:02.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of what you just said.
Yeah, it builds resiliency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's there. So I was feeling, when you're in the track in winter, you are not running as fast, but you feel you are running as fast in summer or fall, for sure.
Yeah.
Anything else you think it's important to pay attention during winter?
I feel like we've covered everything, but maybe if listeners are like, oh, they didn't talk about this, or I wanted to hear about that, maybe post on our Instagram or do your podsy and tag us and say, ask your question. And then, because maybe others are wondering the same thing and we can answer there.
Yeah. Well, I think I've never spoken to but a very few that love winter running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're on the same boat.
Yeah. Most runners are just trying to get through the winter without getting injured and without losing extreme fitness. Yeah.
So we're on the same boat, guys. Hope this helps. And let's go to the runner of the week.
Dan Roy.
Dan Roy. Yes, we love Dan Roy. Why is he the runner of the week?
Oh, he's so fun.
He's
fun. Just awesome. He's such a good runner. And he's a great example of someone who's getting older. You're not old, Dan, but he's in his early 40s and he's getting faster.
Yeah. And I think Dan is one of those runners that it's super fast and he doesn't feel it's fast just because, I don't know.
He's humble. He's modest.
Yeah. But okay, we don't make runners runner of the week just because they like them. We like them. We like them, but they're also fast. So Dan just ran, which one? Chicago.
He did Chicago was his A race.
A race. 3:11.
Yeah.
Qualified to Boston. And every Boston qualifier, I think it's worth mentioning. But other than that, he ran New York less than a month later.
Yeah.
It's impressive. I don't know if he wants me to tell his time. It was not that impressive, but it's 3:40. It's a good time.
Yeah, he finished.
Sometimes we compare with 3-hour runners, but there are more 4, 5, 6-hour runners than 3-hour runners. So 3:40, it's a very respectable
And he ran that with an injury. His foot was injured.
And less than a month later, after running his personal best.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you mentioned is that he's getting faster. His fastest marathon before that 3:11 was 3:18 in 2017. That's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, he ran 7 minutes faster, qualified to Boston, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and now he's training for Tokyo in April.
He's going to be the first person I personally know that has the 6 majors in the near future.
Yeah.
He's missing London and Boston, but he already qualified to Boston, so London
just one left.
Yes. So please, about my Majors Marathon, we need an entry for the London Marathon as soon as possible to get that 6 medals. So congratulations, Dan. And Dan is a really big fan of the podcast, which I really appreciate, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, he's a big supporter.
Yeah. And the chasing sprints, we have some fun and interesting chasing sprints. Do you want to tell the first one?
Yeah, there's on social media, this went around on the weekend. So this guy, Tate Dobson, ran an ultra marathon around 140-meter roundabout in the same direction. It took him just under 7 hours,
50K,
which is
right?
not a bad pace. He did 58K, 415 laps of this roundabout. It's crazy. Yeah. And all he ate was fruit gummies for 6 hours.
Why? I don't know why people do this. Because they want to be in social media. Because I don't know. It's fun. I think it's cool because it gives us something to talk about.
Yeah.
And the running community. But I after I read that story, I started to think, what can I do? I couldn't figure out. Yeah, exactly. How can I be on the news and do something interesting? Nothing came to my mind.
You don't want to go do a roundabout challenge.
No, and it's not worthy anymore because someone already did it.
I know. I wonder if that was any sort of Guinness World Record. It must have been. Has anyone else done a roundabout that many times?
I don't know.
They should apply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one, if you don't know about this, you live under a rock, maybe. But Kipchoge is running the Boston Marathon.
Oh, I'm so excited to see that. This is going to be, I believe, his 4th. I'm going to say he's probably going to win. So it'll be his 5th world major win. I believe he only has one left after that, which would be New York.
New York, yeah.
So he's won Berlin, Tokyo, London, and Chicago.
He won Chicago?
He's won Chicago as well. Yeah, I think. I was looking it up this morning. So he's got 2 left. He wants to win all 6. Yeah. So the only thing, as long as this... so this is another chasing sprints.
No, wait.
Okay.
Yes. We have a party yesterday with my running friends, and we were talking about he's going to break a record. He's going to break the record, obviously. But I start to research the record of the Boston Marathon and Kipchoge times. The record at the Boston Marathon is 2 hours and 3 minutes. And Kipchoge has only run under 2:03 in London and Berlin.
Oh, wow.
So I have his times here. I know he's low now. But I don't think it's going to be that easy. That's my point.
Yeah.
To break the record. That record was set on 2011. So it has 11 years already, that record. I don't know if the weather was perfect or what happened, but 11 years, that record. And if I see the past few marathons of Kipchoge, so he ran, it's Berlin, 2:01 world record. Then London, I think it was 2:02. That it's 2:02:39. So that's really close to what he needs to do in Boston, and it's a way harder course.
Yeah.
But then look at his last marathons. 2:08, 2:04, 2:06, 2:02, that's the Olympics. 2:01, it was again Berlin. 2:04, 2:03. So not all his marathons are below 2:03, and I think that's going to be super interesting I would love for him to break the record. I'm going to be there, and it's going to be super exciting. but I don't think it's going to be that easy. He's not used to healing marathons as much as people that run Boston every year.
Yeah, I'd love to know how his training plan is going to change because he
that's
he
really
tends to
interesting.
choose Berlin because it's such a fast course.
Yeah.
But it'll be curious to see if he does anything different for the hills. Yeah.
Obviously, he's the greatest marathon of all time.
Yeah.
Just that 2:03 in Boston, I think it's really impressive.
Yeah. So then maybe we'll see him in New York
Yeah.
for if he wins Boston,
If he wins.
which I'm sure he will. But there's this guy, Kelvin Kiptum.
Yeah, maybe.
He's 23. He's from Kenya. And he just did the fastest ever debut marathon. So this is his first ever marathon. 2:01:53. And he's 23. So
That's just 45 seconds slower than the record that Kipchoge just did.
So maybe I wonder if he'll do Boston.
I don't know. Maybe they will invite him.
Yeah.
Okay, we need some more competition, please. Who wants in? Yeah, that's impressive. 23, his first marathon, 2:01:53. Kipchoge just raised the bar.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone needs to run faster, and this new generation of runners are going to break his record eventually.
Yeah. His saying is always no human is limited.
Yeah.
And I think
People start to believe it.
He's inspiring so many runners. I love listening to his interviews and I just love his whole approach to running.
Yeah, he's like the awesome person ever.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get him in the podcast eventually.
Yeah. You have to find him when you're in Boston.
Yeah, I'm going to go with him.
You'll get the first interview.
Exactly. I'm going to be that obnoxious guy. Can we have a few words? Yeah, it will be awesome. So that was it for today's episode. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for all your words of support, your emails, your messages when we meet you at track or when you meet your runners here at the clinic. It has been great, and we are really thankful of the people listening.
Yeah, thanks for all the tips and the feedback. And we're back next week, I believe, talking about a review of the year and goals for the new year.
Yeah, exactly.
Tune in then.
Bye.